Hi, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. We're really excited to have you here for our diversity learning and the college experience. Tonight's event has been put on between English 801 Multicultural Cohort and the Puente Project. And just wanted to thank both Daria Myers and as well as Berlin Cobain for being part of that. Also, the Student Equity Grant, which did allow our 801 classes to get books for this semester, as well as put on these sorts of events. We're really looking forward to hearing from Professor Lijun Alvarado, whose essay after Yale did precipitate a lot of really good discussion in the classroom. But beforehand, we're going to hear from some of the students. I'd like to first introduce Jimmy Ortez, Professor Corey Lee's student. He's a communications major. And he's going to read from us his essay, All Into One. Jimmy, do you want to come up?
Hello, and thank you for having me. Diversity on a college campus means everything. It's like bringing different kinds of food to a party instead of just having pizza. Diversity on a college campus is like seeing different places of the world right on campus. Having people from India, Japan, Mexico, Puerto Rico, and many other places make it a great experience to enjoy on a college campus. Sometimes diversity isn't always about background. It can be about cities or certain likes and dislikes and even differences in what people want. I contribute to the diversity at Long Beach City College by being a Guatemalteco from Guatemala, who was raised in Compton and Lynwood, then later moved to Bellflower. I alone am diverse in my origin, background, and city of residence. Having diversity on a college campus lets students reach out and interact with the culture that they perhaps have never met before. This allows the opportunity for greater friendships and learning outcomes. With diversity, you can compare what you have in common with those of other cultures and backgrounds and see that you may not be all that different after all. Along with opening up, diversity allows a window between people that lets them see each other in a way that others cannot. It is important to have diversity because of all the possibilities and experiences you can have through them. I am from Guatemala, and the culture there is very different from here, from the food to the music and to the clothes. I bring culture and diversity in more than one way to my campus by providing my love for the music and my passion for the food, both of Guatemalan descent. Music is played through marimbas, which reminds me of all the festivities in Guatemala, while the food is always handmade with an extra cup of passion and serves as a way to pass down our traditions within our families. I contribute to the diversity on my campus because diversity is a little bit of everything, and I am the Guatemalan part. Thank you.
Thank you for your patience as I made my way from the back to the front here. So hello everyone, my name is Chase Selby. This is a little too short for me. Hi, my name is Chase Selby and I'm an instructor here at Long Beach City College and a part of the English multicultural cohort that is a part of this event along with Puente. I am here to introduce a student of mine who I selected to read from her essay. Now, I was honored enough to hear from a multitude of students, a multitude of backgrounds, a multitude of identities. And this first essay, I was just interested in having the students kind of share their experience. So my student, Amanda Hernandez, is going to come up and read about just her educational experience, her education experience at the college, and kind of a sort of awakening of identity, or kind of a celebrating of identity. So, please join me in welcoming Amanda to the stage.
Greetings, everyone. In in Corona Elementary, I always sat next to my classmate Brandon. When it was time to receive our test scores, Brandon always received an A+, and I would receive a D. I always pondered on why he always earned better scores. I envied his grades throughout my elementary years. Enhancing my education was my objective. During my middle school years, there was a dramatic change towards my feelings for education. I met new friends who were less motivated in learning. They would always talk about doing better, but never kept their word. In order to fulfill my motivation, I hung out less with my friends and spent my time discussing my classes with tutors and teachers when I had the chance. As my graduation approached, I began to realize my grades were not sufficient, and I had to drive myself to exceed each and every class the best way that I could. After my last class was over, I spent my evenings studying until I knew I was able to move forward. I pressured myself to become a better student. With all the hard work, I moved on to high school. I was placed in intermediate classes and was taught by honorable teachers. I discussed my future with counselors and absorbed as much knowledge as I could, getting an idea of which colleges I would like to attend in the near future. Right then and there, I knew my education was even more significant. After high school, I chose to attend Rio Hondo College for a year. My duration there was a great experience. I had great instructors, a nice campus, and always found parking. During my time there, I was taking a Chicano studies class. Before walking in there, I was ashamed of being Mexican because we were classified as uneducated, poor, and known as trespassers. Deeper into this class, I began to realize I was wrong the whole time of being ashamed. I could not imagine what my grandparents had to go through in order to be where they are now. Every day I walked out of that class appreciating my roots, and I constantly reminded myself where I came from. Unfortunately, I did not stay there long due to transportation difficulties. I then grabbed my transcripts and led my way to Long Beach City College. Once I stepped foot on Long Beach City College, right then and there, I knew it was the right place to be. My friend Jenny, who currently attends Long Beach City College, spoke highly of this campus. They had a lot more to offer, such as classes, free tutoring, programs, and more. I am currently taking an English and math class in the evenings, and I am content of where I am now. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Daria Myers, and for those of you who do not know me, I'm a Puente English instructor. I lead a Puente learning community at the PCC campus at Long Beach City College. And for those of you who do not know, Puente's mission is to increase the number of educationally underserved students who enroll in four-year colleges, universities, earn their degrees, return to the community as leaders and mentors for future generations. So it is my pleasure to co-host this event with Professor Kobian, and I give great thanks to the Student Equity Committee for allowing us to put together this presentation. It is my pleasure to introduce one of my Puente students, Rocio Nava, as she's going to read from her essay. This is an essay about education and the voices that a student can get sometimes while going through the educational system and how she overcame those voices. So please join me in welcoming Rocio to the podium.
Hello. I clearly remember sitting in my first college class, arriving 15 minutes earlier, but it felt more like 30. Looking around the classroom, I tried to internalize my new reality. I was now an official college student. As I anxiously waited for the room to flood with students I did not know, for a moment I desired being at home in the comfort of my bed where everything seemed familiar. But the next minute, I was excited to step into this new beginning, a fresh start. This mindset influenced my college experience. During my college career at Long Beach City College, I recognized the importance of embracing college as a learning environment. My first day of college was an eye-opening learning experience. I realized within the first 10 minutes of class what my next 16 weeks would consist of. It was an overwhelming feeling to learn that 3 to 4 assignments would now determine my final grade. I find that a great contributor in my success during my first semester was my openness to a new environment. I found myself interested in a new style of teaching, which ultimately led to a new style of learning. I also find that through this mindset, I was able to adjust to a new rhythm of completing assignments on time and the responsibility this entails. I clearly recall what it was like receiving my first college paper back. I sat nervously waiting for Ms. Lee to approach my seat on my desk and place my essay facing down. As I turned my paper over to look at my grade, my excitement soon turned into great disappointment. At the moment, I was very hard on myself. I instantly began to doubt my potential to succeed in college. It was not until I took a moment and looked at the whole picture when I realized that this was a stepping stone to a great semester in her class. Instead of drowning in what ifs and could haves, I turned my failure into a challenge to improve my writing skills and earned my desired grade. Inner voice exists in us, and I suddenly had to pay attention to the voice I was listening to. However, if we try, we can always find our inner guide. My approach to college was also involved understanding that college is a choice and not an obligation. Allowing myself to see through this lens has given me control to accommodate my experience to my expectations. At the same time, it signifies a sense of empowerment that I am in control of shaping my future and choosing the career path that will help me reach my academic goals. One of the pivotal moments in my education has been reading the excerpt After Yale by Lijun Alvarado. Reading about Lijun's experience, I am filled with great excitement to reach my own moment of self-realization, the moment where I know all my efforts have been enough and have paid off. Although throughout our lives we encounter these moments various times, for Lijun, it occurred during the completion of her essay. For me, it will be the fall I transferred to a four-year university. Her words resonate with my efforts to succeed academically. Her story encompasses the doubts and downfalls I have experienced in my career here at Long Beach City College. But her accomplishment has inspired faith and fueled me with strength to push past all obstacles and to keep moving forward, always and forever. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rocio. That was a lovely essay, a lovely testament to your writing ability and to your perseverance as a college student. It is my pleasure to introduce our second reader. She is very special in a sense that she's Lijun's mentee. So in Puente, as part of our Puente project, as a learning community between English and counseling classes, our third component is mentorship, and Lijun volunteered her time graciously as a mentor, and we paired her with Wendy. So it is my pleasure to introduce Wendy Mora, our Puentistas, as she reads her essay.
Hello, everyone, and thank you all for being here today. It is a great honor. I first met Lijun Alvarado when she came to my English 105 class last semester and presented her essay After Yale. I was instantly in admiration of her writing, and I actually cried during her reading because I wanted to have accomplished my educational journey like Lijun one day. She is a Latina like me, and had obtained her master's and PhD in English. Today, I am proud and thankful to the Puente program for pairing me up with such an inspirational and loving mentor, Lijun Alvarado. She inspires me to strive for excellence and persevere in my writing and not to be intimidated by these Ivy League schools because I too can be there one day. While Lee Jun was a senior, she reveals in her essay after Yale that writing the essay was an overwhelming experience, and many students do find essays overwhelming. But Lee Jun prevailed. She declares, "I set out to write 35 pages in Spanish and ended up with 50. When you change your mindset to believe the impossible is possible, you can amount to greatness. My dream is to pursue a career in public policy and major in English. Writers like Lee Jun help mold my writing process." I am a student who is intrigued with writing as much as any English major. My ideas never obtain a circumstantial order. So as I commence my writing process, my pencil flutters across the page and ceases to a stop. During this pensive thought process, I live within my imagination. I am bewildered with emotion and fantasy of all possible fact and fiction. I question, why, how, when, and what if? There is no structure, simply chaos. I have noticed about myself that I jot down new ideas when I reread with a fresh pair of eyes. The simple act of rereading can lead me in many different directions. My mood on a different day or current event may change the perspective of my piece of writing. This process is the beginning of seeing my piece of writing through different types of angles. Writing can be a challenge for anyone, even an English major. The term writer's block would cease to exist if anyone who attempted to write could so simply execute a masterful piece of writing. Even now, my ideas are ever evolving. Those who believe there is a secret to writing may possibly be right. The secret is skill. You must achieve this skill through practice. This skill is obtained through persistence and determination to successfully understand the art of writing. When writing on any topic, the first thought I have in my mind is how can I relate or do I relate? I instantly try to make a personal connection with the prompt and write down and explain the scenario and how this prompt is applicable to me. I feed off the emotion of the memory and go off on a tangent that may or may not relate to the original idea. To me, a great story is composed from the soul that begins with intelligible thoughts. It blooms and unravels from within. My absolute treasured and beloved method to generate new ideas is simply to put pen to paper and write. You can give light to so many different concepts while your mind takes you on a journey through your thought process and collaborates with new ideas. In my free write, I am fascinated with the multiple directions I can take from one concept. It is mesmerizing. When you have completed a writing sample and can point out the different topics that emerge from a single idea that are linked to one another. Writing is always a challenge, and it evolves and flourishes in multiple ways to different people to accommodate everyone's unique writing style. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wendy. You did really well. Thank you. I'm proud of you. Beautiful essay. So it is my part now to introduce our keynote speaker for this evening. It is an honor to introduce to you this evening the poet, writer, scholar, and educator Lee Jun Alvarado, the author of chapbooks Words of Water and New Rico, California. Lee Jun is an accomplished writer, published in several journals and anthologies: Wise Latinas, Writers on Higher Education, Cura, a literary magazine of art and action, The Ancestors Review, Palabra, a magazine of Chicano and Latino literary art, and Modern Haiku. She also holds a position of senior poetry editor at Kweli Journal. For her picture book manuscript, A Star Named Rosita, the Rita Moreno story, Lee Jun was selected as the honor winner of the 2015 Lee and Low Books New Voices Award. In 2012, Francisco Alacon selected her poetry manuscript as an honorable mention for the Andres Montoya Poetry Prize. She also received an Academy of American Poetry University Prize in 2009. Lee Jun holds a PhD in English from Fordham University, where she helped coordinate Fordham Poets Out Loud reading series and a book prize as a graduate student. She holds an MA in English with creative writing from Fordham University, a graduate certificate from Fordham's University Latin American and Latino Studies Institute, and BA from Yale University, where she double majored in Spanish and sociology. She teaches at Long Beach City College and has taught literature, composition, creative writing to students in New Haven, Boston, New York, Long Beach, and the Dominican Republic. Evie Shockley, the author of Half Red Sea, The New Black, praised her work. Lee June Alvarado's poems carve a double-tongued space of longing and resistance where we can pause to breathe. Read, release, and renewal in the soft, clear light of her words. Please welcome Lee June Alvarado.
Okay, while she gets the screen going, you know what? I want to have a conversation and tell some stories. So I'm going to ask all of you, come forward. Look at all that room. Get closer. I feel like I have to shout. Come on, get up. Get up. Yeah, it'll be fine. Much better, much better. Thank you. Thank you all for coming, first of all. I know it's a Thursday evening, and I really appreciate having this time to share with all of you. What I have up on the screen is my website, so you can check that out. It's just kind of a placeholder. I have some other pictures I'm going to share with you throughout. But you can find other examples of my work there. I want to start by saying thank you so much to Professor Cobian, Professor Myers, Professor Paul, and Professor Shelby for organizing and introducing. I especially want to thank the students. Thank you so much for your readings. I think I touch on a little bit of everything you talked about. So, but also your essays made me think of 5 other essays I could write. So you're inspiring me as well. What I thought I'd do today is, I know many of you have read Wise Latinas, but I thought I'll read the poem that starts it and a few of the sections, and then I want to talk. This essay is called After Yale, and it talks a little bit about kind of the end of my time at Yale and then beyond. So after I read, I think I'm going to give you a little bit of before Yale and tell you a little story about how I got there, and more importantly, things that I've learned from that kind of journey that I think can be takeaways for all of you. Okay? So let's start there. The poem is called Senior Thesis. High on adrenaline and caffeine, the air thin, my head light, I wrote you. Te escribí. When no one else was writing, I wrote. Combed the stacks for the slightest references, the quietest whispers, proof that these words had left una huella no solo en este corazón. I wove your stories together, broke each down, built new connections. Cristina, Julia, Esmeralda. I grew with your girls, found myself in their struggles, hope in their victories. I wrote for you, elevated these new stories, pushed the boundaries of old canons. Te escribí. Bilal, Yolanda, Neji. Like me, you navigated familias de sal y sazón and a white, white world. Escribí about summers on the island, winters in English-only hallways. I wrote, surrounded by ivy, scowling gargoyles, massive stone walls. Recounted your histories, relived my own. I birthed 50 pages en español. And when 4 months had passed, each page written, I crawled into bed, cradled my exhaustion, cried fat, wet tears, sobs built over 4 years more. I slept long, my breath heaving, then slow, and when I woke, just a whisper. Thank you for your words, these truths, and this sweet, sweet release. From After Yale. December 2001, senior year, Farnham Hall, Old Campus. High on adrenaline and caffeine, the air thin, my head light, I wrote you. The call came on a Sunday. By some stroke of luck, I was sitting by the white touch-tone phone, complete with springy cord, and not off at some organization's meeting, or at the library researching, or crying in my best friend's dorm room about my devastating breakup, or coaching one of my freshman counselees through the trauma of first semester finals week at Yale. I was there, in the dust and paper-filled common room I shared with the other 2 freshman counselors, as if I had been waiting for that call to come. When I heard my senior essay advisor's voice on the phone, my stomach dropped. Why was he calling? On a Sunday. On the Sunday after I submitted my senior essay, a week late. Despite my best efforts, I had gone to see my dean 2 days before the essay was due. Nose running, breath tight, I walked into his office and, tail between my legs, explained, "Dean C, my essay is due on Friday, and I almost have enough pages, but I need a few extra days and some sleep to make it better. I think I just need till Monday. I hate to ask, but can I have a dean's excuse?" I had always prided myself in my ability to work to deadlines, rarely asking for extensions. This was only the second time in my 4 years at Yale I had asked the dean for permission to turn in an assignment late. I was embarrassed that my body had failed me at this critical moment in my college career. "Take a week," Dean C said. "Go to bed, get better, then finish the essay by next Friday." December 2001, Yale University, senior year. I birthed 50 pages en español. Fall of my senior year, I worked closely with Dr. Irizarry to choose my essay topic, create a working bibliography, structure my essay, and complete drafts in a timely manner. I knew I wanted to write about Latina authored texts that considered migration between the Caribbean and New York City. And I chose to write about Cristina Garcia's Dreaming in Cuban, Julia Alvarez's How the Garcia Girls Lost Their Accents, and Esmeralda Santiago's When I Was Puerto Rican and Almost a Woman. As I researched and wrote, I found myself writing about myself. I found a surprising comfort in being reminded I wasn't alone. Bilal, Yolanda, and Esmeralda, like Dr. Irizarry, became my mirrors. Writing the essay was an overwhelming experience. I set out to write 35 pages in Spanish and ended up with 50. The sociology essay I would write in the spring to complete the requirements of a double major would be a walk in the breeze compared to the cathartic experience writing my senior essay had been. I finished and turned in the essay, tarde pero seguro, as they say in Puerto Rico, and a few days later, the phone rang. "Lee Jun," Dr. Irizarry said, "I just finished your essay and I couldn't wait to call you. It is one of the best undergraduate essays I have ever read. Graduate level work. I'm giving you an A. I'm very impressed and you should be very proud." I was speechless. I must have said thank you. Whether I actually cried or only came close is one of those details that have been lost to memory. With that phone call, I knew I had done it. I had made it through Yale. I knew I would graduate with distinction in the Spanish major, knew I would complete my coursework, and knew I would write that second essay. With Dr. Irizarry's call, all those things were just items on a to-do list, waiting to be checked off. Any doubts that had surfaced throughout my Yale career disappeared. The senior essay, my crowning achievement, completed and well received, had made it all worth it. I hung up the phone and called my friend Alvaro. Get dressed. We're going out every night this week. I just got an A on my senior essay. So I'll stop there. It's longer, and one of the sections I realized I was surprised I didn't flag talks a little more about Dr. Irizarry. He was one of the few Puerto Rican professors on campus, and I had to go to the Spanish department to find him. And he was a huge reason, I think, that academically I was able to excel, because I had a mentor who I connected with, who felt like family. He felt like an uncle on campus, and that was really, really special. So I know many of you read After Yale, and it talks about me having an amazing, and in this case, Puerto Rican mentor who helped pave the way for my future career as an educator, a poet, and one of the few Latinas in the country with a PhD. I looked this up before coming. Latinas with PhD make up 0.045% of the US population. We are a rare breed. Because of all of the PhDs earned, only about 3% belong to Latinas. So, but before I went to Yale, before I got my PhD at Fordham, there's this life that led me down that path. And when I think about how I got into Yale, I don't just think of my junior and senior year and applying to college and figuring out where I'm applying. I think of that 11-year-old who spent 2 summers in a row in advanced summer school courses to help me prepare to go to an elite private school that eventually helped me get into Yale. But I also think of that 5 or 6-year-old standing at my mother's college graduation and thinking, I'm going to college one day. And then, of course, I think of my parents, about how much they sacrificed so my brother and I could have more. And the leap in education my family took in just 1 generation. So I'd like to talk to you about my family, especially my parents, and try to paint a picture of what that path was, because I think it started with that 5 or 6-year-old who in 1986 saw her mama graduate. So this is little me. That's my mama, my redheaded brother, my dad. Okay, so my mother and father both grew up in, and before I switch to that picture as the background, I'm gonna take us to this map. My parents grew up in Salinas, Puerto Rico, a small town on the southern coast of the island. And unlike San Juan, the capital, there were not a lot of opportunities for work in Salinas. So after he graduated from high school, my father moved to New York. And a friend of his helped him learn to become an elevator mechanic and eventually get a job with the New York City Housing Authority. And he's been doing that ever since. So he is very excited to retire in the fall. So my father secured this job fixing elevators, and my parents, after I think it was about a year, I don't remember exactly the details, but after a little bit long distance, you know, before cell phones, before FaceTime, they were writing letters to each other. They were over that, and my dad came back to Puerto Rico, married her, and then they both went to New York to find a life and to create their life together. I appeared on the scene about a year later, and by then my mom had started taking classes at the local college, Lehman College. It was just down the street from where we lived in the Bronx, and it was part of the city of New York's public college system. My parents shipped me off to Puerto Rico to live with my grandparents for about a year, which sounds horrible, but was wonderful because I was very well cared for and got to learn Spanish and was surrounded by my cousins. I have great pictures from my first birthday party surrounded by cousins who became lifelong friends from summers spent in Puerto Rico. And And, But, you know, after about a year, you know, they had figured out childcare, they had figured things out a little better. They brought me back, and I still remember hanging out at Lehman College with my mom. I was like her little mascot. All her college friends loved me. I was doted on. My dad, my brother, and I would go to my mother's volleyball tournaments and would cheer her on, you know, when she spiked the ball. She was very athletic. But most of all, I remember this day. I remember sitting on my dad's shoulders to watch my mom walk across the stage. And I remember how beautiful she looked in her regalia and how excited everyone was. And of course, I didn't really know what was going on, but I knew it was exciting. I knew it was a big deal. And something I think about those years just spent on a college campus as such a young kid made it not a question that I was going to college, right? I was going to college. That's what mom did. That's what I'm going to do. It was a defining moment for me. Because I had seen my mother graduate college, I knew when the time came, I would graduate from college too. Also, my mother seemed to have fun in college, right? Like, she had a good time. She had really good friends there. She played volleyball. It was a source of pride for her. So I associated school and college with fun. Hard work, absolutely, but also a lot of fun, like something to look forward to. My mother would go on to do accounting for a shipping company and then landed a job with the US Postal Service. In 2008, she transferred to Puerto Rico with USPS and still works at the post office today down in Guayama, a town right next to Salinas, so she gets to help take care of her mama and hang out with her cousins and all her siblings, and she's having a great time down there. Even though my father only earned his high school diploma, and I eventually came to learn he was a C&D student in high school. He found the kind of steady job he needed to support his family, and after over 35 years with New York City Housing, retires this fall. I'll tell you a little more about my path to Yale in a moment, but I wanted to mention my brother because he and I couldn't be more different when it came to the school stuff. He never liked school as much as I did, and he certainly wasn't the big nerd that I was. He went to school because he had to. And in high school, what he focused on was making these amazing friendships and had developed this really close, tight-knit group of friends. And those friends are the godparents to his two sons now. I mean, they call me sis, right? They became a part of our family. But even though Jason didn't love school, he was always ambitious. He wanted to be self-sufficient and independent. He took pride in working and was determined to make something of himself. He got a job as soon as he turned 16. I didn't get a job until the summer after high school because I was busy in after-school activities and in school. But my brother was like, I want money in my pocket and, you know, I'm gonna figure this out because I plan to be independent. After high school, he completed an auto tech program, and after working as a truck driver for a while, he landed a job with New York City Sanitation in his 20s. He's in his 30s and is now a supervisor and will be eligible to retire in his 40s. So he's set. Sanitation is a very lucrative position in New York City because of the snowstorms, right? They also take care of all the snow removal. So he took a really different path than I did, but it was this path that allowed him to fulfill his ambition, which was that security, that ability to provide for his family, and that freedom to do things like travel and build a life. So we couldn't be more different, but he's this amazing partner and father to two gorgeous boys, and I'm so proud to have such a hardworking and responsible baby brother. You know, his retirement plan was set in his 20s. I'm like still figuring some of that stuff out, right? So he inspires me as well. So back to me. I know I'm going to college by the time I'm 6, but all I know about going to college is that I have to do well in school. So that's what I do. I take great pride in doing well. but I also loved learning. I read, okay, I'm gonna go into present voice, right? I take great pride in doing well, but I also love learning. I read all the time, even at Yankee Stadium during games, to my father's chagrin. I write in my journal constantly. My mommy helps me with math, my weakest subject. She majored in computer science at Lehman. It's funny, even though my parents mostly spoke Spanish at home when we were young, English becomes one of my best subjects. I love language. In 6th grade, I'm accepted into a special program, Prep for Prep, and they helped me go to one of the best high schools in the country. Think one of those uptight Gossip Girl school, but with like nerdier students, right? Same kind of fancy facilities, but a lot more flannel, right? And there's certain people with the Prada, but like there's a lot of just grungy folk as well. I'm 11. My parents are splitting up, and I can't think of a better way to run away from it all than burying myself in my books, my studies, and my school-related dramas, not their dramas. I spent 2 summers doing extra work and avoiding everything going on in my family. My parents, even in the midst of a separation, even though they speak English fine at this point, but they cannot write it, right? Like, I still write things for them. They still call me, Mommy, can you write this letter for me for work? Yes, I'll take care of it. Even with all of that, somehow, miraculously, thankfully, they follow my lead and take me to all the meetings, go through the whole application and interview process, and help me to get into the Dalton School in Manhattan. I'm 12, saying, Mommy, we have to go to this meeting, we have to write this thing. And they just say, okay, you really want to do this? I'll go. Which, my first job out of college was working at a similar program in Boston, and when I would give these family meetings to tell families what they were signing up for, every time I was just like, I cannot believe my parents listened to 12-year-old me and signed up for this. Like, this is a big commitment. At Dalton, I am surrounded by nerds. I am no longer the smartest kid in the class, and it's intimidating, but also exciting. I somehow become somewhat of a cool kid. Weird. But I'm still earning those A's and B's. Math and science are a struggle. I learned to get extra help. I learned to take extra time. College guidance at one of these schools is a well-oiled machine. 7 students out of my class of 100 went to Yale with me that year. That's crazy. These schools are what are called feeder schools. They feed the Ivy League with their students. I earned my chance to apply to Yale because of my excellent grades, my activities in high school, and my compelling life story, but I also had a lot of help because of Prep for Prep and Dalton vouching for me, guiding me through the process and helping my parents fill out all of those crazy financial aid forms. My parents, who spoke but could barely write proper English, depended on me to do the heavy lifting when it came to communicating with places like Dalton and Yale. This is all to say that it's very hard to get into Yale, duh, and that a lot of it has to do not just with hard work, but with some lucky twists and turns in life that put you in the right places at the right time with the right people who are excited about supporting you. But also, we make our own luck. I made friends with teachers and advisors as soon as I got to Dalton. I cultivated those mentor relationships throughout high school because I'm an extrovert who likes people, but also because I know the importance of having people who are more experienced help shine a light into the tunnels of the unknown. And so when I got to Yale, I was prepared to seek out a mentor, Dr. Irizarry, because I had had 6 to 7 years of practice working with mentors. And even though I was academically and socially prepared for a place like Yale, it was a lot bigger than my high school. And so I had to find my support network quickly so I wouldn't get lost in the shuffle. Okay, so that's a really brief telling of my story. So how does any of this apply to you? I have 5 lessons I hope you can take away from this talk. Number 1, Know that possibilities that you can hardly imagine exist for you and your families. When my parents moved from Puerto Rico, from Salinas, Puerto Rico, to New York, knowing very little English, they could hardly imagine that their daughter would go to Yale, study sociology and Spanish, and then go on to earn her MA and PhD at Fordham in English, a language they barely knew when they arrived. Reaching those academic heights takes patience, courage, a sense of adventure, and a lot of hard work. But be open to those possibilities that you can hardly imagine. 2, love learning. None of my academic accomplishments would have been possible if I didn't love learning. Or at least they wouldn't have been nearly as enjoyable. Yes, strive to get good grades, but try to find the ways to enjoy the journey of becoming more knowledgeable about the world and about others. Embrace your inner curiosity, your love of learning. 3, cultivate relationships. One of the most important lessons I've learned from Prep for Prep, Dalton, and Yale was to invest time and attention into my relationships with friends, with professors, with counselors, with advisors. I let people get to know me, and I learned about those who I admired so I could follow in their footsteps. 4, never be afraid to ask for help. I failed a calculus test the fall of my senior year of high school. I was devastated and worried about how this might affect my chances of getting into those colleges I planned to apply to. Instead of hiding out and trying to study on my own and figure it out and be in denial, I went to the teacher. I asked for tutoring. I asked for a retest. I busted my butt studying for that thing and aced it the second time around. She was shocked. She was like, "Oh, okay. You weren't just goofing around. You really didn't get it before." I was like, "Yes, I tried." Math was a struggle the whole year, but I did my best, and I earned my teacher's respect because she saw how hard I worked to really understand the material and turn everything around. And number 5, pay it forward. You're already college students, so who can you mentor? Who can you support? Who can you be an inspiration to? As early as high school, I was mentoring Latina students who were younger than me at Dalton. One of the joys of figuring certain things out is being able to pass that knowledge down and make it easier for others who are now where you were. So I hope those 5 will resonate with you, right? Know that the possibilities that you can hardly imagine exist. Love learning, cultivate relationships, never be afraid to ask for help, and pay it forward. Thank you. I'm going to read 2 quick poems. If that's okay. They're related to what I just talked about, so they're 2 more poems. Oh, and here are the other 2 pictures I'll pop up. So this is 1986, and here we are in 2016. That was last spring. There we are with the 2 adorable nephews. Something sweeter than fish. The epigraph is from Roger Bonheur Agard. It says, "The sadness of migration is when you realize you've finally spent more years in your adopted country than you've lived in your own." Mommy searches her dreams for fish, a hint of salt water beyond concrete landscapes. She finds 29 years of Atlantic currents pulling her south. The news comes too quick. My brother and I are like the last to arrive at the supermarket before a hurricane, rushing only to find sardines and tea bags. No water. I scavenge for lost pockets of me, find pictures of her holding us when she was younger than we are now. In my house, I make room for the framed Yale credential, bragging rights that should hang on her walls. Poems and diplomas, these are the grandchildren I have given my mother. Mommy searches her dreams and sees la vieja y el viejo still alive, still waiting for their baby's return. Mommy searches her dreams for fruit, for something sweeter than fish to take her to her latter years. The boats in La Marina de Salinas assure her, your children will be okay. So she floats on her back and she goes. Thank you. We're running low on time, so I'll end there. Thank you so much for all of your attention. And
Thank you so much, Professor Alvarado. And also thank you to all of the student speakers. If we want to have another round of applause for everyone that opened up this evening's program and did such a wonderful job. Before we close tonight, we do have 25 copies of Wise Latinas that we are giving away to the first students that arrived tonight. And unfortunately, we don't have the books in exactly. So when I read your name, if you will just be sure to go to the back before you leave tonight and give us your email so that we can let you know when those are in. So the first winner here is Brittany, and if I say your last name wrong, I'm sorry, I'm trying to read the writing. Macyman? Brittany? Oh, yay, okay. Probably go faster if we don't clap after every person's name, but sorry. Just so that you can enjoy snacks and still talk a little bit before we have to go. Roger Bueno, here. Okay, clap anyways. It's exciting. Vanity Pineda? Vanity? Yes? Okay. Wendy Mora? Wendy? Wendy, yay. Drew Bueno Potts? Okay. Amanda Hernandez. Is Amanda Hernandez? Yes, excellent. Crystal Gonzalez? Crystal? Crystal? Oh, okay. Joanna Garcia, Brian Rodriguez, Mary Gordia, Felix Hernandez, I think it's Roberto Barrio, Martin Martinez, Karina Ornez, and Anthony Reyes, Desiree, I can't read your handwriting, Peñitinera, Miriam Alvea, Nancy Pena, Charisse Peya, and just help me with this. Oh, Rocio Nava, Jimmy Ortez, Cesar Castro, Cindy Flores, Merez Artunio, Marissa Hermacia, and Melissa Fuentes. So you've all been awarded one book if you want to make sure that we do get your email. Meanwhile, please enjoy the snacks, and thank you to everyone for coming out. It was really lovely.